Man jumps into hippo enclosure. What happens next shocks everyone. It was a hot summer day at the zoo and the crowds were flocking to see the animals. One of the most popular attractions was the Hippopotamus enclosure, where a large male hippo named Heidi was lounging in the cool water. Suddenly, a commotion could be heard coming from the opposite side of the fence. People were screaming and running away in terror. A man had jumped into the enclosure with Heidi. The man, identified as John, was swimming towards Heidi, clearly disturbing the normally calm hippo. Heidi began to become agitated and charged at John, who was now walking. The zoo staff rushed to the scene, armed with tranquilizer guns, but Heidi was getting closer and closer. Just as it seemed like the situation was about to reach a dangerous conclusion, something unexpected happened. It was unclear what exactly happened next, as all eyes were on Heidi and John. Was John rescued just in time? Did Heidi manage to get to him before the zookeepers could intervene? Did the tranquilizers work and calm the situation? Hey there, ViralVids here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. The zoo was bustling with excitement as the new addition to the hippopotamus exhibit had finally arrived. The new female hippo, named Heidi, was causing quite a stir as visitors flocked to see the playful and majestic creature. The zoo staff was working hard to keep up with the influx of visitors and to ensure that everything ran smoothly. The keepers were busy giving educational talks about the new hippo and answering any questions that visitors had. The excitement in the air was palpable as families and friends gathered around the enclosure, taking pictures and marveling at the magnificent animals. As the day went on, it became clear that the new hippo was settling into her new home nicely. Heidi is playful and curious, exploring her surroundings and making new friends with the other hippos in the enclosure. She quickly became a fan favorite among the visitors, who couldn't get enough of the cute and lovable creature. However, just as the zoo was starting to wind down for the day and the crowds were beginning to thin out, an unexpected visitor arrived at the hippopotamus exhibit. It was unclear who this person was or what their intentions were, but the presence of a stranger near the enclosure set off alarm bells for the staff. They quickly sprang into action, trying to locate the person and assess the situation. The outcome of this new development was uncertain. Was this person a threat to the new hippos and the other visitors, or were they just a curious onlooker who wanted to see the new additions to the zoo? The news of Heidi's arrival had spread quickly throughout the zoo, and many people were eager to get a glimpse of the special hippo. Heidi was different from the other hippos in the zoo as she had been rescued from Africa, where local communities had deemed him a dangerous animal and were intent on killing her. The zoo staff was proud to have saved Heidi and provide her with a safe and secure home. They were also determined to educate visitors about the importance of wildlife conservation and the dangers that wild animals faced in their natural habitats. As the day went on, the zoo was filled with visitors eager to see Heidi. The staff had set up a special viewing platform near her enclosure so that visitors could get a better view of the magnificent animal. They were also giving talks about Heidi's rescue and the dangers that wild animals faced in Africa. The talks were well received by visitors, who were shocked and saddened by the plight of wild animals like Heidi. Many people were moved by Heidi's story and made donations to the zoo to support their conservation efforts. However, not everyone was happy about Heidi's arrival. There were some visitors who expressed concerns about the safety of having such a dangerous animal in the zoo. They were worried about the potential harm that Heidi could cause if he ever got loose. The staff was quick to reassure visitors that Heidi was safe and that the enclosure was designed to keep both her and visitors protected. They explained that Heidi was no longer a danger to anyone and that she was just a peaceful and majestic animal who deserved a second chance at life. Heidi's past was not without its difficulties. Before she was rescued, she lived in Africa, where she had to protect her family from poachers who were after them for their ivory tusks. Heidi had become fiercely protective of her family and had attacked multiple people who had gotten too close. Despite his aggressive behavior, the zoo staff had been determined to save Heidi and her family. They knew that her aggressive behavior was a result of the fear and trauma she had experienced at the hand of poachers. They were determined to give her a safe and secure home where she could live out the rest of his life in peace. However, not everyone was so understanding of Heidi's past. There were some visitors who were wary of her and concerned about the danger that she posed. They were skeptical of the zoo's claims that he was no longer a threat and that he was just a peaceful and majestic animal. It had taken a long time for Heidi to adjust to her new home at the zoo. The staff had been patient and had worked hard to create a comfortable and secure environment for her, but it still took a while for Heidi to fully relax and feel at home. One of the biggest challenges was getting Heidi to befriend the other hippos in the zoo. She had been so fiercely protective of her family in Africa that it took a lot of time and effort for her to trust the other hippos and see them as friends rather than threats. However, after months of patience and hard work, the staff finally saw a breakthrough. Heidi had finally started to relax and had made friends with the other hippos in the zoo. She was no longer aggressive or defensive and had become a peaceful and majestic animal once again. The staff was overjoyed and decided that it was finally time to let Heidi be seen by the public. They had been keeping him in quarantine until they were sure that he was fully adjusted to his new home, but now they felt confident that she was ready to be put on display. The day finally arrived, and the staff was buzzing with excitement as they prepared to open the zoo to the public. The crowds had been building since early morning, and the staff was eager to show off their new star attraction. As the visitors started to flood into the zoo, the staff led them to Heidi's enclosure. They were eager to show off their magnificent hippo and to tell visitors about her incredible story of rescue and rehabilitation. As the day went on, the zoo staff noticed that there was a strange man who kept visiting Heidi's enclosure. He would stand there for hours just staring at Heidi. The staff became concerned and decided to keep a close eye on him. As the day came to a close, the staff was preparing to lock up the zoo when they noticed that the man had climbed over the fence and was now inside Heidi's enclosure. The staff quickly ran to the exhibit and called for backup, but it was too late. The man was already inside and Heidi was becoming agitated. The staff watched in horror as the man approached Heidi, who was now trumpeting loudly in warning. The man seemed unafraid and kept walking towards the hippo. The staff was desperate to intervene, but they were too far away. They could only watch as the man approached the hippo. The man was none other than John, one of the visitors at the zoo. The staff was in disbelief as they watched John approach Heidi. They had never seen anything like this before and were worried that John was in serious danger. They quickly called for backup and prepared to intervene, but before they could, something even more shocking happened. Heidi, the massive and powerful hippo, walked up to John and nuzzled him with her snout. John reached out and patted Heidi on the head, and the two of them stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. The staff was stunned. They had never seen anything like this before. They'd always known that Heidi was a gentle soul, but they never expected her to be so friendly towards a stranger. The visitors to the zoo were equally stunned. They had all come to the zoo expecting to see a dangerous and aggressive animal, but instead, they were witnessing a touching and unlikely friendship. As the staff cautiously approached the enclosure, they noticed that John was speaking to Heidi in a quiet and calming voice. They couldn't hear what he was saying, but they could tell that John was calming the hippo down. After a few minutes, John turned and walked towards the staff with Heidi following closely behind. The staff was amazed and couldn't believe what they were seeing. They quickly opened the gate and allowed John to leave the enclosure, but Heidi refused to leave his side. The staff listened intently as John told them about his connection with Heidi. He explained that he was the man who had saved Heidi from the people in Africa who were trying to murder the animal. John told them how he had encountered Heidi in Africa while on a wildlife conservation trip. He had come across a group of poachers who were trying to kill Heidi and her babies. John had put himself in harm's way to protect the hippos, and he had managed to save Heidi and her babies and bring them back to safety. The staff was amazed as they listened to John's story. They couldn't believe that the man who had saved Heidi was now at the zoo, visiting the hippo every day. As John finished his story, he looked at the staff with a serious expression and told them that he was worried about Heidi's safety. He explained that there were still people who were after the hippo, and he was afraid that they would come to the zoo and try to harm Heidi. The staff was concerned as well. They had no idea that there were still people who were after Heidi, and they quickly took steps to increase security around the hippo's enclosure. John stayed at the zoo for a while longer, talking to the staff and visitors and spending time with Heidi. As the day came to a close, John said goodbye to Heidi and told him that he would be back soon. As John walked away from the zoo, the staff and visitors were left to ponder the strange and touching relationship between John and Heidi. They couldn't help but wonder what the future would hold for the two of them. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe. See you next time.